Welcome to ModCast, an official podcast of Apolyton Civilization Site.
Wouter Snijders.
Kenneth, Ferland.
Tony Kiehl.
Oscar, Velzi.
With guest co-host
Derek, Kael, Paxton.
Mega thrusters are go.
Mega thrusters are definitely go. Welcome to episode number 11 of ModCast, an official production of the Apolyton Civilization Site. Today, we are joined with Oscar, Elhoim, Velzi.
Viva la patria.
Wouter, Locutus, Snijders.
Hello.
Kenneth, Impaler WRG, Ferland.
Standing by.
And me, Tony GarretSidzaka, Kiehl, with special guest co-host, his first time on ModCast, but no stranger to podcasts, Derek, Kael, Paxton.
Hello, everybody.
The world-famous creator of the Christian strip poker mod.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That is. Wouter's got a good memory. Kael is on our show.
I think I played that one.
Kael has a cool mod. Kael something. So,
how many of you have actually played this mod of his? Because, to be honest, I never have, because fantasy mods.
Okay, well, now, first off, you're supposed to play the doggone mods, Ken. You know we pay you. That's what we pay you for, right?
Mm-hmm. No, we don't.
You make the big bucks from the ModCast.
Wait, Kent's getting paid? I think we need to renegotiate my contract here.
Oh, now you've done it. Okay, and in the Code Corner today, we looked at the ins and outs of Kael's speed mod for Warlords and BTS.
Today, in the artist's Sketchpad, we reviewed the Dark Elf Black Ward by Blubberg Bengal and the Shinto mod by Duo.
Today in the Cartography Room, we talked about Fractal Arborea and the BTS creation map script by Unix.
In the modding spotlight, we talked to Kiehl of Fall from Heaven, and we covered all sorts of grounds, where Fall from Heaven will go in the future, and some other stuff.
Code Corner, where we discuss SDK and Python mods.
Well, we have Kael's speed mod here. Not just Fall from Heaven today, but Kael made a mod, I think back in Warlords, or maybe was it Civ 4 Vanilla, but I know it was necessary because the code that... Was it BTS?
It was BTS.
Because I know there was one a while back for Civ, because Civ was just crashing a lot.
The speed mod was put out for Warlords, and it came about because when we were working on Beyond the Sword, Dale and Rye and I were building scenarios for Beyond the Sword, and it was so slow that we weren't able to test them. I know, Tony, you were working with Dale on his,
yeah.
And if you remember, those turns would just take forever. That it was
and you fixed that.
Yeah, it was impossible to get through those turns, and it was easy for me to fix because I was actually the source of the problem in the beginning, because I had requested... I'd requested that there was a Python call out whenever a unit moved into a new plot. So whenever a unit moved, it would call out to Python, and it would check to see if it should perform any action, and then it would let the unit go. Well, that resulted in hundreds, if not thousands, depending on how many units you had in the game, of Python callouts. And it was taking our games down to you needed 4 hours to play, 100 turns of one of our scenarios. So I started looking into what was causing the problem, and I found out, it's all these Python calls that are doing it. So I went through the SDK and I cut out every Python call, because when you play the normal game, Civ 4 or Warlords at the time, you don't need to call out to Python. Those were just in there so that modders could use them, but people that just want to play normal Warlords, all it was doing was wasting your time, and your CPU was shelling out to run this slower programming language.
BTS is way faster, too, than Warlords.
Yeah, so I turned them all off in speed mod, and yeah, it was a 30 to 40% speed improvement just on normal activity. In the BTS beta that we were working on, it was a huge performance increase, and Alex was the lead designer, lead programmer for Beyond the Sword. He saw those results, and he said, oh my gosh, this is a good thing, we can do this. And of course, Alex did it much better than I could. He put just settings on there so you could decide which Python callouts you wanted to use. So they weren't just all disabled like they were in SpeedMod, but you could actually go and you could say, listen, I want to turn on this Python call and this one because I use those in my mod, but by default they're all turned off so that everything ran quickly, and it was a godsend for everybody. So there's no reason for SpeedMod for BTS because Alex has done an even better version of it, but for Warlords it worked out really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alex does that. Makes it better.
Artist Sketchpad, where we discuss graphics and artwork from the Civ modding community.
And also, we have, I believe, an art unit for Fall from Heaven by, how do you say it? Ploper Bengal?
Yeah, that's a really crazy name. It's like, was he just like smacking the keyboard when he came with the name? You know?
Random typing. But it's the Dark Elf Blackguard, and this unit, if I remember correctly, let's see here. This unit was pretty cool.
That does look pretty awesome. They've got these crazy weapons that look like a cross between spears and
halberds.
What do you call those things? Haberdacks?
We use this in Fall from Heaven as an immortal unit for the Dark Elves, that evil elven group I was talking about earlier, and I know that he used it in his Warhammer mod as well. And the really cool thing about it is he made custom animations for it, so those cloaks that they're wearing, a couple units have cloaks in Civ 4, and they just they're like flat pieces of cardboard stuck to the unit's back, but he did a really good job, created custom animation for it, so when they run around and they fight, the cloaks actually move with them. It's an incredible unit.
Yeah.
Sweet!
Ooh. I had never heard of anyone doing an animation for with the Game Boy engine. I didn't know it was possible.
We have dragons in Fall from Heaven. Those all have to be custom animated. There's no animations for them in Civ 4, and we have quite a few units like that. It's a long and time-consuming process, though.
Yeah, it's certainly pretty rare.
Yeah. I remember when the dragons were being made. They, I think, who was doing the dragons?
Chalid.
Back in the age of
Oh,
dragons.
yeah, he put up how many hours he was working on while he was making it. That dragon was like a full work week of time put in.
Yeah, there's more time went into that dragon than some of the mods that are out there. Some of the smaller mods.
But I think this unit was awesome, and I read he had done all custom animations. And I mean, the textures are much higher resolution than Civ. It just doesn't look like a Civ unit at this point, how detailed it is.
Which means the system requirements are nice and high for it.
Oh, probably not too bad. I mean, it's still low poly, it looks like.
Yeah, it's all about the polys.
I wish he would,
I see some really nice models out there that just have way too many polygons for it to be used.
I hope that Ploper Bengal will upload that cloak without any body attached to it, so that I can add it to units and give all my guys capes.
Giving them capes does not give them the ability to fly.
Oh, you
so
say that, but I wore a cape yesterday and I flew straight down off the roof.
You have to get some SDK mods and then set the flying boolean to do that.
Alright, well, I'll do that next time I jump off the roof.
Yes. Set your flying boolean to true.
That was a very dorky joke. But
okay.
And we also have the Shinto mod by Duel. Now, Duel, I don't think I've ever talked to this person in a long time, but Duel's been modding for a while, and the Shinto mod is years old.
Yeah. Wait, say that again. You have never talked to him in a long time.
I have never talked to him.
Said?
I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Okay.
And I've never talked to Duel over any kind of Skype or chats or anything, so just over the forums. But I have used some of Duel's artwork, and also the Shinto mod is pretty much, I think, was the first religion mod ever, and I had to use what Duel did to figure out how to make ideologies for Civ 4.
It was definitely one of the first, if not very early, religion mod. And Shintoism is, as people probably know, the primary religion of Japan. It's kind of, I think, based off of or similar to Confucianism and Buddhism, and there's kind of a hybridization there. But it's a major world religion that wasn't included in Civ 4, because they were limited to just 7 religions. So he's got the religion in as an 8th religion, which can be acquired. Gives it his own technology called shamanism, which he stuck in the early tech tree, about the same era as Buddhism and Hinduism. You get your own missionary type, which is like a Taoist guy reskinned. You get buildings, which are the temples and monasteries, and then you get a shrine, too, which is a really nice Torii gate model. And if people don't know what a Torii gate is, it's one of those big archway kind of things that you see in Japan.
That don't have don't go to anything. They're just there in the middle of a beautiful scene. They're there for meditation.
Yeah.
But Shintoism is great, and I really think that Firaxis could have put more work into religion, and I think Duel's kind of doing a little bit of Firaxis' homework, but I agree there's also some constraints to religion as well. But at this far into the Civ's development, I think there wasn't enough religions, because you always have one early religion that dominates the globe in many games.
Yeah, I think Firaxis did a pretty good job, actually. I mean, Shintoism is a pretty small religion on a global scale, so I don't think they should have included.
Well, not for otaku.
For a specific scenario or something that might be interesting, but for a worldwide type of thing that covers all of human history, I think they got the biggest religions there.
Well, I think they should have had more.
But, come on, you need to jack up your sales in Japan.
Yeah, another big one right
How
there.
many Buddhists are buying our game? I don't think so.
Ken, you might have just hit it on the nose, but yeah. Duel, good job. We want to see more mods from you. We want to see you come onto our show if you're listening to this. I'm going to post here that we talked about.
Today this was a new release.
Yeah, it was a new release today.
For BTS.
And, of course, had to modify the screens. Where up in the corner of the screen in the main interface where you see the religions, you just had to squeeze in Shintoism there.
Oh, you had to do a little Python right there, huh?
Yeah. Not that hard to do, though. No, it's on a couple of mods where people have added, like, a jillion religions. That gets a lot more harder to organize. Yeah. You guys remember the 37 religions mod?
I think it was actually 42 even.
I was going to say maybe somewhere in between 37 and 7 would be a good religion count.
I actually really like that they went with 7 here, because if you get close to how many empires you have in the game for religions, every country gets their own religion, and there isn't much. You don't share religion with a country, and it doesn't make you good friends, or you have adversarial relationships with people with other religions. So I think there's a real danger in expanding it out too much. I like the 7 number that Firaxis picked.
Yeah, one.
Yep.
Very good point.
Yep, I've been arguing that for some time. If anything, there are too many religions and not too few.
Well, that's the thing I don't like, is that if you have more civs than religions, then someone's going to get left out. It's like a musical chairs kind of thing. And if you've got more religions than civs...
That's the whole point of a religion.
Well, yeah, but it varies based on how large how many civs are in the game.
Yeah.
And it's like...
That's something I've argued for as well. You really need to make it just map size dependent or number of civ dependent. That would be cool to have if someone could make that as a mod.
I would just let every civ found its own religion, and then you can type in the name of the religion and make myself the god of that religion.
Well, that's just you have a god complex, Ken.
So it's, we have founded Chairman Yangism,
We have founded Ken Impaler Ferlandism.
Yeah, that's what we did for our Alpha Centauri democracy game. It's like, greetings from, the followers of the one Yang,
Oh, get out of here. All right.
We are spreading Yangism to your civilization,
You are a Yang.
In the Cartography Room, we talk about maps and simple scenarios. So yeah, we sort of mentioned these in an earlier PolyCast. Unix, or at least I think that's how you pronounce his name, released 2 map scripts, Fractal Arborea, which is a pretty straightforward combination of the Arborea map script that came with Beyond the Sword and the Fractal map script. And the other one is BTS Creation, which is actually based on the Creation map script for Fall from Heaven.
Who did the original BTS Creation again? Was it Khalid or...?
No, Cephalo made the Fall from Heaven, the original version.
Cephalo, okay.
Let's start with the Fractal Arborea script. That's the most simple one, basically. It's pretty straightforward. He just took the Fractal script and the Arborea script and he combined the two because... I don't know how many people have actually played Arborea. It's actually fairly fun, but the maps always look pretty much exactly the same, and that gets boring quickly. So I think it's a lot more interesting if you add the fractal to it. At least you have a lot of changes in landmass and that sort of thing, and that's, it's very, very simple, very straightforward, but it's a lot more fun to play than the standard Arborea script. So for me, it has replaced that one.
And let me remind you, if you like eating deer and other things that live only in the forests in Civ, Fractal Arborea is for you. But I don't think you'll get much trade for them.
Yeah, that's sort of an property of the Arborea script, and some of the other sort of terrain-specific scripts that Beyond the Sword and Civ 4 itself came with. Some resources are a lot more common and others are a lot more rare. But that's not really something that Unix added on his own. He just stayed faithful to the original map scripts.
Oh, and if you want to be really evil, play Fractal Arborea and build the national park in a city that has 21 or 20 squares of forest.
Yeah, that's something you can do very easily in this mod. So yeah, I guess the other one is BTS Creation, which is something that's still under development from what I gather.
This mod is, I would like to say a couple things about this. If you've played Fall from Heaven with the script, you should. And the original creation script is great. And what Unix is doing is converting that script over to BTS vanilla, so it has all the correct resources and generally speaking is more balanced, and he's been working on it constantly. But the BTS creation script is, I think, the most noteworthy feature of it is it builds rings of mountains that are quite thick. I wouldn't say that, but they are quite solid rings of mountains around areas that have small choke points.
It splits the map up in a large number of sort of isolated valleys with short, sort of really narrow passages between them for the most part.
A lot of fun.
And that's sort of the key, and that is a lot of fun. I mean, this one together with the Tectonics plate script are really my favorite two map scripts. And, it's a pretty recent project, so it quickly made its way into my favorites.
Well, it all becomes about choke points. The whole game becomes about these very strategic choke points, and if you control them, then you have access to other valleys and other areas with resources, and cutting off your opponent so that they can't get help to other areas, or that they, you can trap them in their areas and take out those cities. It's really a very strategic map. It's really cool. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun to play with. The one criticism I have, and that's sort of specific to the vanilla version and not so much the Fall from Heaven version, is that it's very clear that these valleys all have sort of their own climate. Some are very much desert-based, some are plains-based. And I feel that that's not really strong enough of an effect. Unix could work on improving that further, if you ask me. For one thing, there's no tundra whatsoever. There's very little ice, at least on the larger maps, which I usually play on. And there's also no jungle, or virtually no jungle. So it would be cool to see more different types of terrain.
He updated it a bit.
Yeah, I played the most recent version, which I downloaded, I think, yesterday or earlier today.
Yeah.
The first version was very, very boring. I think it was just grassland and forest or something like that. He has now basically, I think, 3 or 4 different climates, but still most of the valleys have either grassland or plains. And if he does have desert, it's like 40 or 50 tiles and only 6 of them are desert.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really stand out very strongly. I think he could...
I had resource problems.
Yeah, resources is also something he could probably work on, but the thing I'd most like to see improved, and it's already a fun script that I play with a lot, but is to have stronger differentiation between the different type of regions. More jungle regions, more tundra regions, that sort of stuff.
I would like to see... I just recently asked Unix this, is that he would also allow me to select what world type, as in spherical, toroidal, or flat. Right now, the BTS creation, there's no going on the other side of the world. It's a flat map, like a scenario which was more towards Fall from Heaven. But in the Epic game, I definitely want to be able to get that +1 map bonus for crossing the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, personally, I don't care too much about that. A lot of other things like Arborea and the Highlands, all these other map scripts are also flat maps. Personally, I don't mind too much, but yeah, it would be nice to have it as an option.
Yeah. So we're looking in on you, Unix. It's awesome work you're doing, converting that work. But now you're going to find out that there's a lot less left to be converted and a lot more for him to create himself.
Okay, I guess that's all we have to say about that.
Awkward silence indeed.
Modding Spotlight, where we interview and talk about modders and what they do in the Civ community.
So, Kael, you have been doing Fall from Heaven how long now?
The first version came out in December 16th of 2005, so it's been about 2.5 years now.
You've been modding, like, you're pretty much one of the oldest modders. I think I'm one of them too, but you're still, like, at least 4 or 5 months modding longer than me. Because I know I saw your mod, and I was like, I could do this. I think I could do this.
Oh, so you saw my stuff and thought, oh, you know what, if that's gonna fly, then...
Oh, no, you remember our mods? We had, like, 2 unique units in the whole mod, you know? We had static leader heads.
Well, I was around in the very early days, too, so I remember all that. And the big thing that Kiehl did early on was publish the guides about how to get into the SDK, how to get yourself a copy of the development environments that everyone could use, and that totally kicked off all the SDK modding.
Oh, you were in on that, Kael?
Yep. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get a copy of the SDK early, so trying to pay for access back for giving me that opportunity, I tried to get as many guides out there for other people so they wouldn't have to go through the same pain that some of us went through trying to figure out how to use it. Because anybody who's modded Civ 4 will tell you that even though the tools are all there, the documentation on how to use them and how to get the stuff done has kind of been left to the communities to develop.
Well, I remember when I downloaded Visual Studio's C++, I'm like, oh, the SDK is out. This will be easy. And you know what I haven't modded since that day is the SDK.
Yeah, even with the guide, it took me like, I think about a week to get just the plain old SDK compiled, just to make an exact copy of what the game already has. And then you have to modify your code on top of that. So just to compile it, I had to get all the little settings right and download this, and no, it's crashing because of this and that. Yeah. But it would have been hopeless without the guides. So all of us SDK modders ultimately owe it all to Kiehl.
Wow. He's speechless.
Well, and ultimately back to Firaxis, of course, for giving us all these cool tools to play with. Mm-hmm. But so when Beyond the Sword came out, Ken and I both co-authored a document on how to mod Beyond the Sword along with Solver, and got that out on the day of release so that it was available to everybody. Actually, before release, wasn't that, Ken? Like a month before?
Yeah, actually, it was a little bit before.
Yeah, before Beyond the Sword even released, we had that guide out there for everybody.
I remember exactly how sorry. Yep. That was a nice little project we all got together. Like, after after everything was kind of getting finalized in the beta, it's like, okay, documentation time. Woo.
that Beyond the Sword certainly was a sweet project to work on, I think. I think someone Googled my name, and apparently people give you recognition on websites for having worked in Beyond the Sword now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sweet.
Well, maybe it would be good to first point out for listeners that we have interviewed Kiehl before for an PolyCast episode 23, if people want to go back to that and listen to it. So if you want to know, what is Fall from Heaven, where did Kiehl come from, and how did he go from his strip poker mod to to Fall from Heaven, I recommend downloading PolyCast episode 23.
How can you not know what Fall from Heaven is?
I had another... Oh, yeah.
And that was my first appearance on PolyCast.
Yes, I wanted to point that out as well, but you beat me to it.
Yeah, yes. You'll see me my first day.
Woo!
Yeah, pretty much.
Sadly.
Yeah, all downhill from there.
that was back when they thought I was nice.
We ever thought you were nice?
Well, maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, just this week, at least for us when we're recording this, released a new version of Fall from Heaven. Can you explain sort of what the main new features are?
Sure. As I mentioned, Fall from Heaven's been around for about 2.5 years, and we're going to try to get it all complete by December 16th of this year. That'll be a 3-year project, and all said and done, everything over with. So the stage that we're in right now is looking at those parts of modding that usually you have to wait till the end to do. There's AI changes that are in this one, trying to teach the AI players how to actually play the mod, which we couldn't do early on because we were still designing it. We were still coming up with all these features, and features would get moved, changed, cut, and if we spent a lot of time teaching the AI how to use them only to cut them later on, it didn't make much sense for us. So 32 and 31 before it, which we released 2 months ago, are really about putting the final touches on the mod from a coding standpoint, teaching the AI how to play. We've really tried to simplify a lot of the environment. In 31, we had a lot of different branches you could go down for magic, and we brought those all into one branch because new players were getting lost and confused in all the options that were out there. And some of the options weren't honestly very good. If you were to take a mage and teach them to cast these sorts of spells, it just really wasn't that useful in the game. So we went through those and we cut them out, and we got all options to be just as viable and valid as any others, so that new players wouldn't get trapped if they decided to do one thing or another, and it all made more sense to them. And that's 32 too.
Aren't you supposed to nerf the powerful stuff when that's the problem?
There was one spell that was just everybody ran for, which was Meteor Swarm. You create these 3 balls of fire, and you can throw them out at other units, and they travel a long distance, and they explode, and they damage everything in the stack, and everybody in their right mind would always teach their mages how to cast Meteor Swarm. So that's a good sign that we needed to get it out, and we did remove it and replaced it with some lower-powered things. So it's hard to see the spells you love the most go, but just like you say, if it's too good, you need to do something with it.
So you nerf it down to Meteor Drizzle.
It would still be somewhat
a
painful.
Meteor Light Drizzle. It's not as powerful as Meteor Storm.
Mildly annoying. So there was also a discussion on I think Qualitative 3 recently where we talked about it's a pretty overwhelming mod for newbies, for new users. There's so much new stuff in there, and some of it, documentation isn't always great. Are you planning to improve the mod in that aspect?
Yep, that's where we're spending the bulk of our time right now, in the AI and then simplifying the mod so that it is easy to pick up. Of course, while you're making the mod, it doesn't make a lot of sense to document all the game effects work, because just like I mentioned, they may be cut, they may be changed, but now that we have the mod the way we want it, and the base game is pretty set in stone at this point, we're spending time going back and putting all the documentation in place. Some of the community's been awesome at this too. Zian Wolf came out with this 109-page document that goes through every aspect of Fall from Heaven and really details what it does and how it works, and is a really good resource for asking questions. Let me just, if people haven't played yet, let me mention a little bit about Fall from Heaven so that they can get an idea what our challenge is. The real goal behind the project was we wanted to have 21 different civilizations, and we wanted each civilization to play fundamentally differently. So more than trait differences, more than a unique unit or a unique building between civilizations, we fundamentally wanted them to be different. So our dwarves, our dwarven civilization, the Khazad, their happiness and their productivity is all based on the amount of gold that you have in your treasury. The more gold you save, the more your people start producing, the happier your cities get. But if you get poor, your people start revolting, they start getting angry, the production goes down. So when you're playing a game as the Khazad, watching your gold resources is
sweet,
your key factor. We have a civilization with a leader that's insane, so his traits randomly change as you play the game. You may be spiritual aggressive one turn, and the next turn comes about, and you are now organized and charismatic.
Is that the Belseraphs? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Balseraphs. Yep, absolutely. Their leader is. It's fun to play, but they can be challenging because their traits change like that. Their entire civilization is based on a giant carnival. So they have catapults that shoot cows. They have units that are dressed like clowns and jesters, and
that's pretty sweet.
It's a crazy force to come up in the battlefield against.
He looks like him. He's got like a jester outfit, I think.
So the leader is like the Joker from Batman. He's kind of crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I
right.
think that you touched on a couple of the things that I wanted to say needed improvement, and with the patch, I haven't played it yet. I mean, it sounds like I really need to get the new patch.
Yeah, even in the...
By the way, did you take out all that hard coding?
Yeah, so we originally built Fall from Heaven on the vanilla version of Civ 4, and when Beyond the Sword came out, rather than convert it to Beyond the Sword, we decided, you know what, we learned a lot. I learned a lot. I'd never coded anything before starting Fall from Heaven, so I was trying to teach myself as this process went by. But by the time Beyond the Sword came out, I feel like I knew a little bit better on what to do. So we started over. Not a single piece of code was copied from the Civ 4 version to the Beyond the Sword version, and we rewrote everything from the ground up with an eye towards making it easier for the AI to understand and making sure we didn't have any hard coding in there. Hard coding is just, we didn't want in the SDK for it to say, promotion, hidden nationality, or this or that, refer to anything directly. And the reason we did that was we wanted to release our code when it was done, and every time we put a new version out, we put a copy of all of our source code for anybody who wants to look at it can have it. And other mods are using that now to make their own mods, and if we keep all that hard coding out, then they can use it. They're free to play with it as they will. If we were to hard code something in there referred to a Fall from Heaven resource, then of course when they tried to use it, it would crash because they don't have that resource there and all that. So that is all gone.
Yeah. So what this actually looks like at the code level is, it's like get GCF info type for string. So it looks for like the name of an asset, and then there's some fork in the code. So if this building is a temple, do this. If it is not a temple, do that. And what Civ 4 did originally, and this was something Firaxis took as a philosophy as well, I think it came from Soren actually, is that everything should be data-driven. It goes to the data piece. So if that building, instead of it asking if it's a temple, it says, if this building gives +1 happiness, or if it gives any happiness, do this instead. And the AI can work off of that, and that's why the AI can understand when you mod Civ 4 to say, I want this change in XML. It's like, okay, I'm going to give this building more happiness, give this building less, etc. The AI will take that into account and prefer that building more or prefer that building less, and know what's going on. So in the same way, Fall from Heaven can now be modded as Civ 4 has been modded by just changing the data.
And then, therefore, let the mods roll.
And there's been quite a few of them, and they're really impressive. One guy, Lootfish Mafia, I think is his name, created a mod off of Fall from Heaven where you're just an adventure in a dungeon, and there's monsters in the dungeon and treasure chests, and he takes it even more down towards the direct role-playing game level, where he goes out and he gets treasure.
So it's Diablo?
Yeah, kind of. Absolutely. It's turn-based Diablo, if you can imagine that. But it's a cool project. It's kind of neat to see.
Oh, what's that mod that sucked in BTS again?
Afterworld. I don't compare it to Afterworld, just because Afterworld was a great idea, but they forgot the fun part. But outside of that, it was awesome.
They forgot the fun part. I'll tell that to the guys here who designed that, Kiehl says you forgot the fun part.
Well, I think we smoked the heck out of Afterworld in one of our pilot episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Which will one day be uploaded. When we take a week off, I'll upload one of those episodes.
Yeah.
But your mod has truly arrived when you have mods.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
You got the big time there, baby.
Fall from Heaven has been more successful than I had ever guessed. We have about 150,000 downloads right now on Civ Fanatics, not counting other sources. About 1 million views on our main thread, and 125,000 posts about it on Civ Fanatics. So it's been busy.
Yep.
Yeah. So the estimates are something like 10% of the entire Civilization 4 player base has played it or something. What are that? It's really high. I mean, it's.
Well, Civ 4 at one point had 2 million copies sold. So if you take that as your number, then 150,000 is about 10%. But that doesn't count the amount of people that are downloading it off BitTorrents, the amount of people that are copying it and giving it to their friends, the amount of people that are downloading it off FileFront, 3D downloads, and download.com. There's a German site set up for Fall from Heaven, a Japanese site, a site in Israel for it. So I don't know what the real number is. I have no idea.
Okay, so it's probably in excess of 10% easily.
Yeah, well, you don't really know, of course, because the same thing can be said of Civ 4. I mean, that's downloaded off of BitTorrent as well. So we'll never know exactly, but it's probably near the 10% margin. I think that's a safe bet, and that's very high.
Okay, good point.
It's fair to say that if you're interested in fantasy mods and you are looking at mods for Civilization 4, you've probably tried Fall from Heaven. So, but my challenge is not to expand it in the community of people that are using mods, but to try to expand out the amount of people that will use mods in general. I want more people that own Civilization 4 to be playing any mods. And that's why I think you guys are doing an awesome job, is trying to break out and get it to more people so that they realize there's mods out there that I can play, and they're as good as the real game assets, and they're a lot of fun, and they don't cost you anything. And
I think any self-respecting Civ 4 fan that is even remotely interested in modding should absolutely have played Fall from Heaven at some point.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't, folks, you know where to get it.
Hey, like I said, okay, maybe I'll try it. I will.
I played an old version.
I remember me and Kiehl, getting into a little bit of a spat once, when I said I didn't like fantasy. Remember that?
Yeah, I once saw a mod where Canada could control and take over the world, and in my opinion, that's a fantasy mod. So where do you draw the line?
Was that my mod you're talking about now?
No, I think that's Dan's favorite mod.
No, I agree with you, and I actually don't have any problem with anybody that doesn't like, we do a very specific thing, and we hope that we do it well. But I agree, fantasy mods aren't for everybody. The one message I want to get across is there are mods that are out there for you. There's incredible World War II mods out there. There's mods that add more civilizations to the game, more features to the game, even without going into different worlds and scenarios. And it's worth everybody's time to log on and check them out.
But in Fall from Heaven's case, I'm not a fan of fantasy mods either, but this is such a huge thing, and there's nothing remotely like it in Civ 4. So even if you're not into fantasy mods, give this one a try, I would say. At least to know what people are talking about.
And once you go mod, you'll never go back, baby.
Key.
I played an old version of Fall from Heaven, and I really like it. But I'm one of those people that I want to play the complete thing. So I'm just holding up thing until the final version is released. You say it was going to happen in December this year.
That's our target date. It's 3-year birthday, December 16th of this year is when we're trying to get to. We have a little work to do before then.
Yeah, can you talk about that? What's still on your to-do list between now and December 16th?
Yeah.
Sure. Just as you said, we're working right now on a lot of AI and documentation, but the last step in Fall from Heaven is we're going to make a series of 18 scenarios that'll both help new players start out, because there'll be some of them will be starter scenarios, kind of like tutorials that introduce you to the game concepts one at a time instead of throwing you in this big epic game.
I like those kind of tutorials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll let you play as you do them without having to get hit with everything out there. And the rest of these 18 scenarios are going to tell the story of three of the characters, the main characters from Fall from Heaven.
Is there a way to make a scenario play in serial order? Like if you beat one game of Civ on a scenario map, that it will automatically load up the next map, kind of like more standard strategy game than Civ usually does?
Yes, there is. There's two technical things we had to accomplish for our scenarios, and one was we wanted to be able to save what you did in a scenario permanently out. It's not game saved. It's saved on your computer to say, hey, you did accomplished goal X, goal Y, goal Z. This hero is still alive. You rescued this person, so that we could refer to that information in later scenarios. And the second technical thing that we had to accomplish was we needed to be able to load up scenarios in the game. So combining those two, we have when you accomplish scenario 1, it writes out to that metadata and says, yep, you know what, you've done this, you've successfully completed scenario 1, and then before scenario 2 even becomes available in the menu, it'll show you that it's there and that it's locked. If you've completed scenario 1, it will unlock scenario 2 for you, and you can go ahead and load it and play it.
Sweet. That's sweet, Kael.
Yeah.
And it'll incorporate data taken from the outcome of your first scenario, so like this character lived, that character died, etc. So he's available or not available.
Yeah, let me give you an example. There's a scenario where you have there's two different sects of elves. You have the summer court and the winter court, the evil elves and the good elves, whatever you want to call them. And you get engaged.
Yeah, you said sex of elves. I'm like thinking of some like really awesome D&D porn.
No, though the evil elves don't wear much clothes, so it's almost getting to that point.
Oh, that's fine. Good elves. Well, the good evil elves.
One of the scenarios involves their war, and you can get involved in it, or you cannot get involved in it, but they're battling between the two of them. And depending on which side wins that battle, which you can influence or not, will affect events later in the game, which of those civilizations shows up, later in later scenarios.
That's really freaking sweet right there. Another thing I wanted to ask you that reminded me for some reason. Personally, myself, want to ask you to make the Empire of Dis, the Hyborian, the guys with the big demon face. I want them to be playable from the start. That would be so freaking sweet, if you choose. Because I know they just spontaneously appear somewhere, sometimes off a wonder maybe or something.
The Infernals are a demonic civilization, and right now the only way to get them into the game is you have to start worshipping the most evil of the 7 religions in the game, and you have to research a tech called Infernal Pact. And when you research that tech as a player, you're given that brings the Infernals into the game. So a new civilization starts in the world at that moment, led by Hyborum, this evil demon prince. And you as a player are given the option, listen, do you want to keep playing the civilization that you've been playing, or do you want to switch and start playing him now?
Well, here's my problem. That's actually...
Oh, you do kind of the Y thing with that, yeah.
That brings me to the problem I had, which was the civilization switching mechanic. I thought it was brilliant and beautiful, but I had spent, hours working on my Civ, making it perfect, micromanaged, and I switched, and I had to reload my autosave, because I was like, well, I want to play both Civs, not just one. Can you make it so if a Civ, like sometimes a leader in the game will say in an event, will you take over my empire?
Yep.
And then when you say yes, you switch to his empire. I love that mechanic, but I wish I could keep my empire too.
You want to have your cake and eat it.
You want to have your cake and eat it too.
I'm sorry, and I want the flames of Dis to spread throughout my whole empire, so all my old units are huddled in cities and they can't leave, and there's fire everywhere. That would be cool. But
I just had to comment that it really sounded like from the description of this civilization, that your game encourages the worshipping of Satanism. Admit it, Kiehl.
We've gotten emails before about one guy said that
you're worse than Harry Potter.
Said that his computer was turned
and Magic the Gathering
was turned off, and he would hear demonic voices coming out of it when he had Fall from Heaven installed on it, even when it was powered down. So he had to uninstall the mod. So you may be onto something.
I think Zareth is getting his degree at a university to be an exorcist, so you could just have him go down to a player who has been possessed. Zareth exorcist.
But wait a minute, he was able to exorcise the demons simply by uninstalling the mod. That actually doesn't sound very demonic. He's like, my bits were overwritten. We have been purged.
I once read that one guy was complaining that your mod was sexist or something like that. That women were depicted wrong. I don't know. I don't remember correctly.
Yeah,
perhaps you remember that guy.
I do. We had a big thread about that, and it was a very interesting discussion. His point was, you know what? There's not a lot of female units in the game. And we do have a lot of female leaders. I think we have 37, and 12 or 13 of them are female. But from a unit perspective, we don't have many female heroes or female units to go out and do battle. And in a lot of the pedia entries, we put a lot of backstory history in there. And there are some horrible, horrible things that happen to women in those stories. And there are some horrible, horrible things that happen to men in those stories. It's just it's a dark fantasy mod, and there aren't really any true good guys. Everybody has their faults and their own crosses that they bear. It was interesting to hear his perspective, and we talked about it, and lots of people gave their opinions on it. And I think the consensus was that, you know what, it's just a very harsh, dark world, and bad things happen to a lot of people. And as for the not many female units in the game, that's more of a practical concern because we didn't have many female models to work with in the beginning. Yeah. So all the ones that came with Civilization 4 were male units, and we would recolor them, and we'd change little things on them, but trying to do a gender change on them, that was a little more difficult.
I've done it. It's just not easy.
Yeah, and we do have female units in the game. We have a much higher percentage than Civ 4 does, but just like you said, it just takes more time. So that's why, from a practical standpoint, we don't have as many as we do male units.
So if your game was to get an ESRB rating, what would it be?
We have a unit in the game that carries around the corpse of one of his defeated foes, and he beats people over the head with it to kill them. That's what he fights with. So figure out what that rating would be, and that's about where we're going to be. It's not going to be a good rating, though, I promise you.
If it doesn't show nipples, it's all right.
Yeah.
No, I disagree with Oscar. It should show nipples at this point.
It's about the only thing we haven't done, sounds like.
No, but with the rating, you can have blood, gore, and senseless violence, but if you show nipples, you have troubles.
Oh, America, you're not allowed to show nipples.
You have a wife. Don't complain.
Oh, I know.
Call in today. In North America, the number is 301-637-7659. That's 301-637-POLY. In Europe, 441212887659. That's 44121288-POLY. You can Skype us at the PolyCast or email us at polycast@apolyton.net.
The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
For more information on ModCast, our sibling show PolyCast, or about PolyCast in general, log on to the series' official website at polycast.apolyton.net.
So, a great episode. Great episode. Touch me.
No way.
Okay, never mind. Don't touch me.
Okay.
Well, okay, Oscar, you can touch me, but not the other ones.
I didn't know that. Oscar's done some work for Fall from Heaven, though, so he's
Did I
a great
mention
artist.
to you, Derek, that Oscar is very pretty?
Yeah.
He is, but of Argentina.
He's like Antonio Banderas.
He is salsa dancer, secret agent by day, civ modder by afternoon, salsa dancer by night. Just want to thank you for coming on the show. I hope you had fun, Kael.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Can I pimp one more thing before we go?
Go ahead.
Tony.
Go ahead,
I just
pimp.
want to mention, I know you guys mentioned it on a previous episode, but to bring it up again, I also, to help out new modders, people that they don't have any code experience, they get kind of overwhelmed by these long process docs that are out there. I created a series of, they're called MSMD, Monkey See, Monkey Do videos that show, how to add a leader to a civilization, how to create a new leader, very basic things that I think a lot of people could start with. But you can load up the video and you can watch me creating a new civilization, and it takes about 5-6 minutes, and hopefully it'll give new modders enough experience to kind of feel like, oh, you know what, that isn't too bad, I can do that. Yeah, definitely nothing for the experienced modders or programmers. They're going to be well beyond it, but just for new people that don't have the experience.
A little push out the door,
Yeah, I like that.
You've done a lot for modding in general, and I hope that the one day comes when every game released, except for games by EA, are fully moddable and don't suck.
EA is coming out with Spore later this year, which Soren's working on, so...
And with any luck or bad luck, or whatever you want to call it, Civ 5 will be published by EA as well, so...
Don't jinx us, Wouter. I'm hushing all of you up. You hush with your Spore, and you hush with your EA, and... Alright, today we have been joined with Oscar, Elhoim, Velzi,
Adios.
Wouter, Locutus, Snijders,
Bye-bye.
Kenneth in Impaler WRG Ferland,
Sayonara.
me, Tony, GarretSidzaka, Kiehl,
Thanks, guys.
and with special guest co-host Derek, Kael, Paxton.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming and listening to the show, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Record date
May 25th, 2008.
Sound clips copyright Civilization 4 and the Warlords and Beyond the Sword expansion packs. Copyright 2008 Apolyton Civilization Site at apolyton.net.